serving meals at the park in around 2015, I'm still serving a lot of the same people I served in 2015.
New at 6, another look at the homeless crisis in Oregon's rural counties. Tonight, we're taking you to Clatsop County, now dealing with the highest per capita rate of homelessness in the entire state. Good evening. Thanks for joining us for KATU News at 6. I'm Deborah Knapp.
And I'm Steve Dunn. We recently revisited a nonprofit we profiled 5 years ago. And as KATU's Angelica Thornton reports, they're much bigger than they predicted back then, but they still cannot keep up.
We usually do 6 days a week, but this month we were running a little low on volunteers, so we had to cut our Thursdays and Fridays.
When we first met Erin Carlsen in 2019, she was scraping pennies together to feed the hungry, handing out pizza slices from the back of cars at People's Park in Astoria.
We serve a lot of people who are working full-time, maybe living in their cars or living on the street. And we are their only meal of the day.
The nonprofit Filling Empty Bellies was as grassroots as it gets. Many of the volunteers were living on the streets themselves.
And that's like my ultimate vision, actually, for like a drop-in center in Clatsop County too, is this idea that we all run it together.
5 years later, they have what they dreamed of, but it wasn't easy. Erin says for years they got turned down over and over again.
Well, I would even turn in proposals with like the wording a little bit different, like leave out the H word, which is homeless. Leave out, certain words to try and like present it in a way like, hey, we're doing this thing, we're trying to reach out and do a hand up and rehabilitate and all of that, but it was just like a hard no down the line. Nobody wanted to rent to us. They saw it as a liability.
They finally found a spot to rent thanks to a family connection who wanted to give them a chance.
This was not our first pick. We did not want to be right in downtown Astoria, but this was the first place that we found that would let us in.
Erin's husband, Ozark, is now the executive director of the nonprofit, which is now called Lifeboat Services. Filling Empty Bellies is just one of their programs, providing people with meals and much more.
Mail service, computer, phones, clothing closet, showers. We're moving into opening overnight shelter.
I cut into the flooring here, and we did some plumbing because we're going to have a restroom, or toilet, shower, a bank of sinks.
Ozark is doing whatever work he can himself as they transform this space into an emergency low-barrier shelter. They'll start with 22 beds and eventually house around 40 guests a night. Ozark says there's really nowhere else for people to go when the cold comes to Clatsop County.
Now we're going to the church, which is where the Astoria Warming Center has been located since 2014. And that was the only low-barrier emergency shelter open in Clatsop County for the longest time.
That warming shelter just around the corner in downtown Astoria closed in February after a guest was arrested for allegedly stabbing a worker. Worried people would freeze to death this winter, Ozark and Erin decided to take it on themselves. Looking ahead, they will use the church space for their navigation services, and people will sleep at their current location. They're paying for it with funding from House Bill 5019, approved by the legislature after Governor Tina Kotek declared a homelessness state of emergency. Lifeboat Services is getting $1.25 million.
I can't explain how much weight that lifted, that we're receiving these funds, and how much validation it gave us. All the work that Erin has put in and I have put in, and any number of volunteers, the hundreds of volunteers that have helped Filling Empty Bellies get to where it's at.
But Erin and Ozark say it's still not enough. Even with the new shelter, they will likely have to turn people away. They say, like so many rural counties in Oregon, Clatsop County simply doesn't have enough services for shelter, housing, addiction, and mental health treatment. It's why they also started the Beacon Clubhouse, a non-clinical, member-based, peer-run program that provides support and advocacy for people dealing with mental illness.
Because I'm going to be on the news. Okay, I love you.
It's what Erin wanted in 2019. She's doing much more now, but the mission hasn't changed.
People have absolutely nothing, and they have absolutely nobody, and society tells them that they're a certain thing, and nobody wants to look at them or hug them or feed them or anything. They can come here because we don't turn anyone away.
Still chipping away at the crisis, one person at a time, in it for the long haul. In Astoria, Angelica Thornton, KATU News.
KATU is committed to staying on top of the most pressing crises impacting our region. A few weeks ago, we took a deep dive and showed you how Polk County is working to get ahead of the alarming trends. You can still watch our special, The Hidden Homeless in Rural Oregon, on our website, KATU.com.